Right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Stephanie Brown, the Suburban Shaman from Painted Caves Studios. And I am here to talk about animal totems. So welcome. This is the first video of what is going to be a series talking about mine and my husband's path of modern totemism, or a modern way of working with animal totems. The content is going to come from the awesome book that I put out last year called The Modern Totemist. So if you like what you see in these videos and you'd like to learn more, as you can see there is more. It is available from my website, paintedcavesstudio.com. So because these videos are just going to give a little brief overview, not really the whole thing. So, all right, so the title of this video is Know Thyself, What is Totemism? And I'm going to begin the same way I would if I was going to give a talk on totemism at a gather or a festival or something like that. And the way I begin is I ask the audience, do you know your totems? And if it is a mostly pagan or generally metaphysically spiritual type of audience, then generally I get some, yeah, I think I do, yeah, okay. But then I follow up with the question, do you know yourself? And that's a little bit harder. And I follow up with another hard question. It says, if you said that you know your totem, do you really know what it's for? Do you know what it is? Do you know how to really incorporate it into your practice in a productive way and really work with it? Very rarely do I get anybody who gives an affirmative answer at that point. So our path of totemism is defined as coming to find wisdom through knowing the self, and coming to know the self by knowing the totems. One thing that we have noticed throughout many religions, not just paganism, but across the board, is that there seems oddly to be a lot of focus on making external changes to your world in order to better it, whether that be through prayer or through spell work or somewhere in between, and much less work on the inner work, the core self-work, to really adjust your viewpoint and open your eyes to your situation so that you really feel like you have to change less. You can make your peace with the world and with yourself, and that's ultimately what the goal is to find that place of peace. We believe that the two most important questions that you can answer in this lifetime, or seek to answer, are who are you and what do you want? And I am aware of the fact that we may have lifted those from Babylon 5, but you know what? They're still poignant, so still very important. If you have some idea of who you are and what you want in this life, you are on the path of wisdom, and you are on the path of finding that peace within yourself that will translate to peace with life and with the world. That is not to say that I am claiming that I have found that peace, or anybody else who practices totemism has found that peace. It is the journey, the path of totemism, right? It's not the destination of totemism. But when you have that peace within yourself, it's sort of like that big gnarly tangle of yarn that's in all of our minds, that is your desires and your opinions and your thoughts and your fears all knotted up together. It helps to untangle it and make all those pieces kind of lie straight so you can see what you're working with and what you actually have. We believe that the path to obtaining this type of wisdom is to examine the self through examining the totems, because the totems are the soul, right? The totems are the face of the soul, or the essential self as we have defined it. If you study the totem animals, you will begin to understand yourself. For example, my primary totem is the jaguar, okay? When I study the jaguar and I study panthers, I learned an awful lot about why I am the way I am, because I'm like them and they're like me in their behaviors, okay? Lost my train of thought. Starts to derail after a certain point. We have all had those moments, right, where we go, why are you like this? You step back away from yourself objectively for a moment and you say, why am I like this? Why did I do the thing? And there's a lot of self-judgment and there's a lot of self-anger that kind of comes from, you have this expectation about how you're meant to be behaving, and then your instincts are in a completely different category, and that gap between the two of failure, that gap of failure, is where a lot of sad feelings and disappointment is to be found, right? You're all with me there? When you come to know and respect your totems for what they are, you find that you can respect yourself for what you are. And that's really what we're aiming for. You find peace with yourself through respecting that you are the way you are inside, okay? So with that under us, we'll move on to the 9 totems. Okay, you may have heard me multiple times say it, totems in the plural, and that is because we do believe you don't just have one, you have 9. And that's pretty important because humans don't run just on one type of energy, right? I mean, tigers run on tiger energy, lions run on lion energy, but humans have multiple voices. We have multiple threads of instinct and thought, and all these different, the multiple voices inside our head that kind of contribute to the thoughts and actions that we have. And so we believe that all of those different influences are represented by there being 9 totems. Now the 9, we have 6 elemental or more physical based totems, and then we have 3 center or a little more metaphysical or identity based totems, okay? So the 6 elemental totems are earth, air, fire, water, day, and night. And they represent fire. The fire totem is the face of your passions and your spirit. Your earth totem is the face of your concerns of the body and your physical self. Your air totem is the face of your intellect and your creativity. Your water totem is the face of your emotional side. The day totem is the face of your light self or your light side, and the night totem is the face of your dark side or your dark self, okay? So you got those over there. The 3 center totems, you have the Lord totem, the Lady totem, and the primary totem. Now, the Lord and Lady totem represent a concept that in metaphysical and pagan circles is usually referred to as the active and passive energy, but there are other terms for this duality, like in Hinduism it's the Shiva and the Shakti, or in Chinese traditional medicine it's the yin and the yang, okay? Now personally, I really don't care for the term passive because it feels to me like it denotes a lack of agency, and so I prefer to say active and permissive, which I think flows a little bit better. You've got the side of you that is the action taker, and then you've got the side of you that is the that sits back and is the permission giver. And one of those totems is going to be male and the other one's going to be female, and which one is which is going to be different for individual people, okay? It's not set which is which. You're just going to have one or the other. And then last but not least, we have the primary totem, which is the one totem that is the face of the entire essential self. You may call it the most reflective of who you are. And if somebody at that gathering in the beginning of this hypothetical talk answered yes to the question of do you know your totem, if they do know, they're probably thinking of the primary totem. That's the one that most people would probably know, even if they're not aware of all the others, okay? Let's see. So that is the basic introduction. Once again, all to be found in The Modern Totemist, available from paintedcavesstudios.com. Be sure to check back in a week or so, and I'll have more videos. I'm going to go over each of the 9 totems in a little bit more detail to help you recognize them and get to know them. I'm going to go over the process of finding your totems and in recognizing them. We'll go over a little bit some different ways that you can communicate with them and ways to work with them in your practice. And we may also go over some ritual ideas or some practice-based ideas that you can do to communicate with your totems, to honor them, to empower yourself. Okay? So I hope everything was clear. Thank you for sitting with me. And remember, always be kind, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.